What up? It's your boy RPG. Red, purple, gold. Kilos. Panoramic roof. Bitch, I'm red, purple, gold. RPG. My strength will never fold. My heart is never frozen cold. I'm the best. Yeah, that's what I've been told. 1, 2, 3. My voice has been freely sold. Luxury of my life is all I know. It's all I know.
Hey, what is up, everybody? I hope that everybody is having a fantastic day. But regardless of where you're joining us, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. I hope that you are all having a fantastic day. And thank you so much for joining us here for the next episode, episode 29 of our Artists on Artists Spotlight. And this week, we've got a really, really special artist that, like I talked about in the marketing, I have actually known her for longer than I have actually been a part of Bozy. And while we didn't actually get some of our first work put out there and for people to listen to and hear until when I was a part of Bozy, this one is actually pretty cool because I feel like, oh, wow, like an actual person that I knew prior to, me doing this show, starting this series and, joining Bozy and, kind of really, watching that go to the place that we are. I'm really excited about the fact that it's like, oh, wow, I actually had experience and worked with her and knew Sephora before I had all of this, kind of in place. So I'm really excited for the interview today. And this week, we've got the spotlight turned on a very special artist. I'm really excited to bring her up to stage. Everybody, let's welcome Sephora.
Hi,
Sephora,
everybody.
how you doing? And then Louis, I still see my phone. Nice.
Okay.
Sephora, how you doing?
I am good. How are you, actually?
I am doing fantastic. And I mean, it's one of those things where I love the day that I'm going to be usually on Tuesdays, but whenever we do it, I'm always excited for this because, you've got the workday, the regular stuff you just got to do, but then this is you look forward to it. I can't wait to be able to, get to the interview. I hope it goes really well, but again, like I talked about at the beginning, knowing you for the amount of time that we have, I think it's going to be pretty fantastic. And I'm excited to because I know you and I have talked about a lot of these things, but I'm just really excited to be hey, you know what? Let's make it Facebook official. Let's make it real and let's bring you on the show. Let's get a real interview. I want everybody to be able to have the opportunity to hear more about your story and just, be able to listen to more of the music. But at some point later in the interview, we will definitely make a move over to 10th and Music, and then we'll do a little bit more of a focus on, because she has a brand new album called Chrysalis that she just dropped on the 1st of June. So it's only been out for 16, 17 days. So as soon as you get done with this interview, have her music already pulled up on whatever favorite app of choice that you're listening to. Sephora Johns, Chrysalis is the brand new album. Take a listen to it. I've been obviously, listening to her entire catalog over the past several days. But one of the things that we'll definitely talk about and get into today is that, again, because of the amount of time I've known Sephora, I've got the opportunity to listen to a lot of her music, but hear it more when it was being made in the moment. Hearing Chrysalis for the first time, I was like, whoa, damn. This is so good. Where I'm all of your previous albums were great, but this is the one where I'm I'll just keep coming back to this. And it's just so good and so catchy. And it's I'm just just the flow. I'm just I can't wait to get into it more, but we can't give away all of it right now. We've got to let them, give them a tease and get them started with some music. But before we do that, how was the day? How are you doing?
I am actually just kind of, I don't want to say overwhelmed, but a lot of things have made me happy recently. The album's doing great for just coming out. Nice. I know what the top song is. I'm filming something I can't say what NDAs, but it's a film. I will say that.
Okay. I'm excited. I'm excited because I think it's also so cool. And I touched on it a little bit in my live yesterday because I was like, yesterday or not yesterday, last week in our interview with Musashi, he was also talking about that too. Like, the other sides of the entertainment business and not just, 100% solely focused on the music, but, branding, merchandise, acting and all that side as well. So I'm excited to also be able to tap into that with you because it's like, oh, it's a whole new avenue that we really haven't done. And then, we kind of got the opportunity to, walk down the pathway last week for the first time. So I'm excited to get into that with you because it was something that, again, I knew, but I'm like, I'm excited to kind of tap into it a little bit more. But just like I like to start off every one of these interviews is with some music. And, with this one, now, most of the time when I am, kind of listening to all of the music and everything, and, I will pick out some of my favorite songs and I'll be like, okay, I'll usually have like 5 to 8 that I want to be like, okay, if I can play all of them, great. But these are the ones at least I love the most and I really want to be able to put out there. I'm going to pull a little bit of like this is my show. So we're going to start out with my song with Sephora. I had to do it. And this song, and let me get the banner pulled up here because this song is called Adrenaline Rising. And it was a really amazing song because, Sephora and I really hadn't had the opportunity to work together up until this point. She was working on an album called Ethereality, and she had sent me 2 songs. And the first one that I fell in love with was Adrenaline Rising. And then in the midst of like trying to be able to figure out what I wanted to do with the other one, it was like, okay, I think I'm just going to take that one on my own. And I'm like, okay, then let me just get Adrenaline Rising finished. But I love this song because it's the album ender. And I love that idea that it's like, okay, yep, for this album, like, it's like you and I together on this song. And I think that with the music that you've done, some of my favorite individual songs are the ones that you do with a feature of some kind. Not only just specifically me, but just in general, I love when you put those songs together. So I wanted to be able to play the first song that I wanted to start with today, and that is called Adrenaline Rising, featuring myself, RPG, Red, Purple, Gold. So let's press play. And guys, make sure and let me know that you can hear it.
And you look so damn sexy tonight. I'm on cloud 9, high as a...
All right, guys. I can't give you the entire song, I'm just gonna make sure that you hear her beautiful voice, and you get a little bit of me in there thrown on just as the sprinkle at the end too. But again, I absolutely love that song, and I love the fact that I also got the honor and privilege to have the opportunity to work with you. But let's just start off with a question, just kind of something simple to get started. Give me a little bit of your process, and in a general way, like what changes for you in making something like Adrenaline Rising, or something in the same veins of like Pardon Me featuring Louisville, which is another one that we'll listen to later as well. What changes for you in regards to your process when you knowingly are going to be working with an artist for a feature, as opposed to just the song and it's just going to be you? How do you change up that flow and that process for you?
I am an overthinker to the fullest, so I tend to kind of write every single song as if it's me by myself, and if I can't think of a second verse, I immediately try harder. If I can immediately write a second verse to the song, that's when I look for a feature.
Interesting. Okay, so then the feature almost can create itself in the moment. Wow. And now, is that always 100% for you, or is that like that puts it like much more in the percentage that it will, but maybe not always an automatic?
It depends on the vibe of the song. Like Pardon Me was very much like, I'm not gonna lie, it's a sexual song, but it's also like more poppy, and then Adrenaline Rising is more like an R&B with little hints of pop. So it also depends on the genre. Yeah, because I like to give my projects to artists who are confused and they don't know what to do with the song, because then they start thinking, and then maybe bounce back and forth with a conversation about how we should go about approaching the feature. And like a lot of the times I'm like, just go for it. It's going to be very rare that I'm not going to like what you send, but just go for it.
Nice. I like that. Okay. I really like that. And, and you sort of, I was going to bring this up later, but you did sort of segue into it so kind of perfectly that I guess, you just go with the flow on it. But I did want to ask that as a question, not in a sense, because in no way would I put you in the category in the sense of like, you're trying to be Sexy Red, like so blatant and just overly, like just everything is just to the 12 for overly sexualization, either of her as the individual, or the lyrics she's saying, or like the individual words, like, or the theme or whatever. And you sort of toe this line where like some songs, okay, yep, you'd be really blatant with it. Where for me as an artist, like individually, I maybe more like to veil sexual innuendo, around like a cool beat, or like, oh, let me sing this song and let me change it around a little bit. But for you as like the person, for you, like how much is it like in the sense of, this is sort of just me giving a little bit more of my personality, and like not in a way like, oh, I'm hypersexual to the general person or just outwardly, but more so like, are you like confident in that way, or is this more like, let me get my extra confidence out in the music, but if you met me, maybe I wouldn't be this forward all the time, like in the way you can be more forward and much more direct in the music? Like, do you play both sides, or do you tend to be a little bit more aggressive in your general personality?
I like to think of, so my name's not actually Sephora Johns, it's Sephora Monet. And
gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, and Sephora Johns is my mother's last name, and it was her father's last name, and he made music. And I kind of just took it until I figured out what I wanted to make my stage name, but it just kind of stuck.
Yeah.
But I like to think of Sephora Johns and Sephora Monet as two different people. I'm more chill and laid back. I can be very sexual, but I know there's a time and place for those certain things. Yeah. And Sephora Johns is like, I'm going to be sexual a lot of the time, because that's what draws attention. That's what a lot of my fans like to see, even though
Yeah.
some of the songs have very different meanings.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why I kind of wanted to be able to ask the question and like really, you know, not in any way of like putting it out there of like, oh, I'm also trying to, you know, turn it into being exploitative or, you know, anything in that regard, but more so in the sense that I know, at least for me as the individual, where, you know, I tend not to be like super aggressive or like, you know, blatantly maybe like just automatically first to go sexual or in a whatever way you want to like take that, either, you know, sexual, aggressive, you know, dismissive, like, you know, whatever you want to take it. But I always feel like I like how you describe that, where it's like it is two different personalities and two different ideas of the same person. But as the artist under this name, I get to play out this character a little bit more. Under Monet, hey, I want to be a little bit more maybe down the middle, or, you know, play this character a little bit differently. So I like that because I think that it makes sense. But to an artist too, I think it also makes sense because I think there's an aspect of that that people don't really think about. That like when you are up on stage, like you have to be the character on top of the fact that you're giving out the music too. Like at least especially how you do it. Like with the way you do your cover arts, you know, the way you have your songs and you structure them and layer them. Like you are trying to purpose, like it's not just, oh, I'm just kind of just making music in the vapor. Like you do it with a purpose, and like I'm making this song because I want to get out this point or this theme, but yet you do such a good job of like even, you know, when you're looking at some of your cover art, you know, and we'll take a look at them, you know, more specifically when we kind of move to 10th and music, you know, but when you're taking a look at not repertoire, Ethereal Reality Deluxe, you know, where it's kind of like the whole backside of you, but there is no clothes, but it's like the way you have like the lighting, like all of the, like not the angles, but more so the shadows in the right spot, where it's like it's done artistically and yet you're still getting across the point, but it's done like what I would just consider, it's like, oh, this is classy, and she just happens to be giving it to you in a sexy, sexual way, but it's not like, oh, it's Playboy, or like it's something that it's, oh yeah, she's trying to do this. Like you can take it so many ways, but I think it would be more difficult to look at that and just be like, oh, well, that's just so sexual and gross. Like it doesn't feel like that. And I'd like that, how you play that line really well. Now, when you're getting the albums put together, you're doing some of your singles, how much do you think about that to begin with? Like, is that planned out from the start when you're making the album, or is that more once the music is completed and you kind of get to create, you know, the whole picture of what it is?
I am not releasing music for a little bit. With me saying that, not only because my album just came out, but
mm-hmm.
I already have like maybe one or two other like more albums finished and done.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Aside, like even like I have like another 2 albums that I could release after Christmas if I really wanted to.
Nice.
I just don't. I like to pace myself because I think about everything from the first song. I like to like sanction myself within certain time periods. Like when Ethereality was being made, I kind of just stayed in that mindset until the mindset left. And once the mindset left is when I normally release my deluxe, because then like I'm out of that head frame. And Ethereality was more of like, it was very like angelic, and then on the other end of it, it was very like sexual, which is why I made the covers two very polar opposites. And then coming into Chrysalis, it's very like I am more clear because everything I release is intentional. Like I feel like now that I'm saying it now, people are gonna go back and look. But from the very first EP and album that I've ever made till now, it's blurry on purpose, and it gets clearer and clearer and clearer and clearer. And
I don't feel like... So in chapter 20, when it's more blurry to now, that's on purpose. Holy shit! Wow. Okay, That's some like Marvel Studio levels, like 13 levels down. That's impressive. I did not know that. That's cool. Okay.
And like each album has like it has its own signature color.
Yes.
I feel
Hmm.
like with chapter 20 was very much gray and black. It was very much gray, like gray
Yeah.
everywhere. And then
Yep.
with Ethereal it was more the browns and the golds. And now it's
Hmm.
like it's very much like black out of
Hmm.
nowhere, which I feel like I've gotten a lot of questions about from different interviews, like, hey, like your color change, your entire tone
Hmm.
of music has changed. And I feel like not only because of what I'm changing within the covers, because I feel like the covers have also gotten more intentional
Yeah.
as time went on, but also this album, I didn't make it like a normal album. I made it out of a concept.
Okay. Cool. All right. What was the concept overall?
So I feel like in a lot of my past music, I've always like said if I made a trip from heaven to earth, and like if I
Hmm.
made a trip to hell and back, and I
Hmm.
kind of like revolved it around that, but I kind of used it in terms of a butterfly because butterflies are the number one thing in that I love the
Hmm.
most. And so
Okay.
then I kind of made like the trip from a cocoon to a butterfly, and then a butterfly to dying
Hmm.
or
Okay.
losing its wings in some sort of way. And I kind of
Yeah. Yeah.
wanted to pay tribute to that because
Hmm.
butterflies, they live up to 1 year and then they die.
Yeah.
So they have only have 1 year to kind of live their life and
Hmm.
explore and do whatever. And so I was kind of thinking like in that aspect, if I am in a butterfly's mind of sorts, how would I
Hmm.
go about getting my message out, but also two different messages at the same time? Because the first one is
Yeah.
very like I'm coming into my own, I'm realizing things, and then the second is very like I know how I feel about this topic and I know what I'm willing to do about it. But
Hmm.
that does not mean I have to give you my opinion on it.
Mm. Nice. Yeah, that's true. That's a good. Wow. That's actually kind of a little bit like that's like you got to stop and be like, wait. Oh wow, that's like that's pretty powerful right there. So then in the sense of like because now I will admit in hearing the album in the sense of that the final part of it is like okay the chrysalis boom now you are this butterfly yes maybe the lifetime is short but guess I don't know if I felt like the energy of that it's turning back into like the death. Like I didn't hear like a turn to like maybe not negative, but I didn't hear like a turn to like let me give you the other side. Let me give you the sadness. Like it felt pretty upbeat for the most part. But now that you're saying that, I'm like, now I have to go back and listen to it again with that new knowledge just to get it again.
I feel like what's also intentional that people don't really, I think like a couple of my fans have realized, but
Yeah.
how I start and end each album is
Hmm.
very intentional.
Totally. Yeah.
You can kind of like from the end of where Adrenaline Rising and then to the beginning of Chrysalis, the messages kind of still coincided
Okay.
because
Makes
it's
sense.
Adrenaline Rising, and I wrote this song so long ago, so I don't even remember the meaning anymore. But like it was very much feeling the thrill of being near someone and like caring about
Yep.
someone that much. And
Yeah.
then Chrysalis is Apologies. I think Apologies is the first song. Is
Yes.
very
Hmm.
much like I know how this feels, but
Hmm.
these apologies that I feel are not mine to you. They're yours
Mm.
to me. And so it
Right.
kind of
Yeah.
switches and it continues. So each album, they all continue. And I
Gotcha.
purposely made this one on a cliffhanger to listen for the next one.
Oh, okay. Okay. I'm gonna have to go back. Now, two times I'm gonna have to go back and listen to it because I didn't know that this was left on a cliffhanger. I like that. Okay, cool. All right, guys. So when you're listening to the whole album after you get done with this interview, now you know. Listen for the cliffhanger, and also listen. I mean, just all of the stuff that you're just talking about. But that's amazing. Okay, so then with because I guess when I remember when you'd shown me the initial ideas that you had for the cover art for Chrysalis, I had looked at it more so because I had not taken it with the blacks. Like, I mean, yes, I know that I loved how you had the, kind of how you had the shadows in there and your, like part of your outfit was black, but somehow I took it like I saw more of like the creams and like the tans, and then it's like it just was like your pose was like so striking and powerful, where I'm like, okay, but at the same time, now that I'm looking at it again, I'm like, all right, I can see that, because there is a lot of like, especially with your hair, because that's now the other cover arts are much more dark in a general way, like Repertoire. It's hard to tell what color your hair is because just the overall picture is almost black and white. But with this one, I can see what you're meaning. But I guess I saw more of like the cream and like the light parts that you did as opposed to the black. But I do see it in that way too, now that you're explaining it. But I guess I did see a little bit more of like the lighter colors in the creams as opposed to the black. But I mean, it definitely makes me again want to be able to just re-experience it with all of that new, like your, perspective on it, being like, okay, does this change anything, to an extent?
I didn't realize it at the time, but like the day I kind of released it, I said, okay, I didn't know it was intentional, but I feel like it is. I knew the minute it came out, because in the beginning, I think the first picture I released was a picture of me in like this brown, like not floral, but like silk outfit. And then like the comment I kept getting was, "You look like a butterfly. This reminds me of monarchs." And so then I kind of like, I think I muted the comments because I didn't want to like. Was different because this album I had a team behind me. Everything like the other albums I was doing it on my own, but this one I had a team, and they're like kind of like tease something.
Okay.
And so like the name of the album, Chrysalis, was butterfly related. So I was kind of giving the creams and the browns, and then the music as it kind of came along, I kind of the cover for Fast Forward, where it was pretty much like the butterfly earrings and it was all like a cream dress. That was supposed to be the cover. And then I kind of changed it because then I'm listening to each of these songs beginning to end. And I said, I feel like there has to be a double meaning, because in each of these songs, you get to see the lighter and like lighter parts of each of these songs and what they mean. But also there is a darker version that is not non-existent. It's there. So it has to be represented in some way. So I kind of left Chrysalis as the name, and then I kind of changed the cover. I still let the lighter colors in there, but I also made the focus black.
Gotcha. All right. That makes sense. So now I know you said that you were, taking a little bit of a break, in regards to right now from music, but you've got, other music ready to go. Now, does that mean for you individually that it's also like the full album theme and everything is there too, or it's more like music is made, but I would need to put it into like a package?
I will say I've kind of almost in every single album I've touched on 90s a lot. The entire next theme of the album will 9 times out of 10 be 90s.
Okay, cool. All right.
I would just add a little bit of like a now feel to it, but very much like I don't want to do a strictly straight R&B album, because that's kind of what Ethereality was supposed to be, but then people jumped down my throats. Why is it an R&B album? I thought it was
really interesting.
I think like Chapter 20 was mainly like a pop album, and people was like, we love the pop, because that's when I first introduced all my whistle notes, my really high vocal range.
Yeah.
And then I kind of dialed it down in Ethereality. And then the comment I kept getting was, well, why'd you switch to R&B? Like, where's the whistle notes? We missed them a little bit. And then I released Repertoire. And then people said, we want more rapping songs. Yeah. So I kind of tried to merge the three in Chrysalis.
Okay.
And so far, it's working.
I mean, now, but let me ask you this, because for Chrysalis overall, because I guess I didn't think of Chapter 20 as being a pop album, because it was so long, like, because I think, what is it, 19 or 20 tracks? So it felt like you got to run the gamut, where it didn't feel like a pure pop album, because I'm like, she gave us so much that it didn't feel like the main theme of the album was pop, that it was like, I can give you everything, or a bit of everything that anybody who would want X, Y, or Z type of music, if they're not into Y or A, they will be into B. and I gave them B, type of thing. So what do you look at with Chrysalis? Like, do you think of Chrysalis as being more a pop album, more an R&B album? Like, what is your personal take on what, if you had to categorize or give it an idea, what does your brain go to?
I feel as if Chrysalis is an album that doesn't fit into one genre specifically. I feel like I kind of made that like that way on purpose because I don't like being put in one category. It's
Totally.
like a lot of the times nowadays, more than ever, Black women, like if they make music, it's like they're R&B artists. And I love that. I've been nominated for like best new artist and things. I'm for R&B. I'm not against it. It's just I don't like being put in a category that I can't get myself out of.
Totally. Especially if
and
you
so
didn't put yourself in there either. Yeah.
Exactly. And so I try to kind of mix them and kind of let the public decide what genre it is. And then there's always a different answer, which is fine with me because you can't, if everyone has a different genre they think it is, then there is no specific one genre for this body of work.
Okay. No, that's actually good. That's actually really good. That's actually good. That's smart. So now, again, I can definitely be able to tell already with this interview that it's like, okay, I need to bring myself also back to reminding me like, hey, don't get lost in the conversation. Also bring it back to the music too. But one of the things that I wanted to be able to focus on, because not in any way, because it's like, I can't pick 15 songs to be able to go over. And when you've got the amount of music that you actually have, like, Chapter 20 was like, yes, the one where I started listening and focusing, like, I listened to the whole album moving forward from that. But I think you had, at least full albums released, one or two before you did Chapter 20. And, probably another couple EPs on top of that as well. So it's like, it's not like you started with that and then went there. But for me, I think it was more like I would have had like 15 to 20 if I was able to add every single favorite song from every album. But I think for me, I wanted to be able to focus on, the biggest song from this new Chrysalis song or new Chrysalis album, which is Nasty. At least from what I was showing on YouTube Music, it had the most plays comparatively to anything else on the album. So was this song individually, was this one that you released? Did you release any singles like legitimately before the release of the album? Or were they just little like, you put it out, but maybe not like a full release?
I actually released 3 snippets. I released a snippet of Fast Forward, Nasty, and I think another song that I didn't end up putting on the album or deluxe at all. And the first initial reaction, everyone loved Fast Forward. And so I kind of like went back to the studio, prepped and finished recording Fast Forward. And then I kind of was amping up. I gave a release date. The exact day I gave the release date for Fast Forward and the cover art and everything, Nasty just blew up out of nowhere. And I'm like, huh. And like, but when the version of it that I released was not at all what it was like now. It was very much more. Okay. It was way more explicit. And I kind of like dialed it back because, and it was funny. The original version, my mom wrote the entire thing. And so I was kind of singing her words. Yeah. And like, because she was an older woman. So her thought process of things were way more clear. And so I was like, I released the snippet of a demo. I didn't do any backing vocals or anything. It was just a demo. I'm reading the comments and all I hear is, this is actually a really good song. This reminds me of the 90s. This reminds me of Lauryn Hill. And I thought, huh. And so I kind of like went back and I kind of like changed all the lyrics a little bit. I kept the chorus, but I changed like certain words and certain phrases. And then I kind of left it up for a day. It came back. And then even more comments about how Nasty should have been the number one, like the single to come out instead of Fast Forward, because Fast Forward is the only single from the album that was released.
Okay, gotcha.
And so then I took the entire post down because I wanted to kind of keep Nasty as a secret of being on the album. and I kind of
Okay.
released it. I didn't know it was gonna be
What it
what it
is.
was.
Wow. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. All right. So, guys, so with that news in mind, let's play, at least in this moment, and a whole nother song could blow up tomorrow. But at least right now, we know that the biggest song on this brand new album, Chrysalis, is called Nasty. Let's give it a play.
I like it nasty, I like it nasty, I like it. I like it, I like it, I like it, I like it, I like it nasty. I'm feeling fucked up, cause I wanna fuck on you, so quit being nasty now. Tell me the shit we do together, fuck up both the rooms together. Late night sex, put your shit on snooze. I just like it nasty. I'm feeling fucked up, cause I wanna fuck on you, so quit being nasty now. Tell me the shit we do together, fuck up both the rooms together. Not my fault that you just do it better, do it better. 2 hands on my throat, 2 hands in this cup, all the body that's dripping down your throat. Now sip it down, sip me down, let's go. Sip it down, sip me down, let's go. Sip me down. This your new favorite song. These bitches tripping, must have seen me in your favorite porn. I'm out shit, hit bitch called Serena. Bitches want beef, I'm vegan. Make a wish to return, I call me Tina. Hear you moaning, I got you feeling, don't I? I'm feeling fucked up, cause I wanna fuck on you, so quit being nasty now. Tell me the shit we do together, fuck up hotel rooms together. Late night sex, put your shit on snooze. I ain't just like it nasty. I'm feeling fucked up, cause I wanna fuck on you, so quit being nasty now. Tell me the shit we do together, fuck up hotel rooms together. Not my fault that you just do it better, do it better, 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 better.
All right, guys, come on. We can't give you the entire song, just the tease of all of these. So as soon as you get done with this episode, then you go to your favorite streaming app of choice, go find Chrysalis, go find all of the music, and just press play and go one to the end and, be blown away just like I always am. But so Sephora, you'd mentioned earlier, and I'm so glad that you did, because this is something that, we'll definitely tap on the other side of this coin, but I'm definitely really happy to hear that you are working, with some additional people now, in the sense where it's like, I don't know if that's the reason why maybe there's just like your sound, I don't know, it feels like you just stepped up to a new level of improvement, where it's like still the same Sephora, like amazing energy, beautiful voice, but now it's like, oh no. Yep, I went from $100 mic to a $500 mic, or like no studio to now studio. Like, it just sounds like it's just a glow up in like legitimate reasons, on top of just you always building and growing on your own sound. But was there anything in regards to like the making of Chrysalis that it's just in general, like, for you, or just me hearing it with my ears, like, feels like, you really made some step ups and, just got yourself to a whole nother level, even from where you were? Like, was there anything, specific that you did for this one?
I feel like I did the thing that I was really scared of my entire career. I've been doing entertainment since I was 7. It was just a different side of entertainment. And then I did make music before Chapter 20, but I didn't take any of it seriously, because I was acting and modeling, and I took it seriously during Chapter 20. And then I was always afraid to lean into my full vocal range. When I did high notes, I didn't want to do them too. I felt like if I needed to do a high note, I should have left it with the high note. In this album, if I did a high note, I added a high note with an incredible difficult run with it. I feel like I showed off more of my repertoire of my vocal range, which I was always afraid of doing. I always felt like if I'm making R&B, I have to stay in this register. If I'm making pop music, I need to do more whistle tones and everything. But I feel like my team kind of pushed me and said, hey, if this is like, they thought this was my last album permanently. They said, this is your last album. You need to go out with a bang. Use your vocal ability to its full strength and see like how you feel about it. And so the first song I made was on this entire album was trauma bonding, and I kind of
Really? Oh wow. Okay.
it scared me because I kind
Mhm.
of felt like one, it was extremely real
Mhm.
because it just happened, and so
Mhm.
I kind of want to. I stopped making music after trauma bonding for like a month,
Wow.
and then
Dang.
I kind of made the rest of the album. And then after
Mhm.
trauma bonding, it was Madam, and then it was
Mhm.
Fast Forward, and then So Long, and then like on April 21st, the day my mom passed, I kind of went back to trauma
Mhm.
bonding,
Mhm.
and I kind of like redid it all.
Oh wow. Nice. Okay.
I did. I felt like I owed it to her and as well as myself to not censor myself,
Totally.
and
Yeah.
so I took it to the full strength that I could.
Mhm.
And as soon as I released it, I was kind of afraid that people weren't gonna like it or relate to it. But it's been a um, great so far. I've gotten a lot
Yeah.
of positive feedback. More, I don't think I've seen one negative thing, other than there's
Nice.
not enough whistle tones. But
Yeah.
that's
Not
the
enough of
depth
a
of
thing
me.
doesn't mean it's bad.
Yeah, but it's I've only seen good things about the album, so it makes me really happy
Nice.
to know that it's resonating with people.
For sure. Now, in the sense of nasty, where this one is it more of a situation where it's like this one is like blowing up the fastest, or it just is kind of taking off the quickest? Or is it more like, oh, this is really like the first one where I've seen, go to this spot or like to this level? Like, or is this like, oh no, this is just a long line and a list of, other singles and stuff that's blown up in the past?
Ah, I felt like I kind of have a formula when it comes to releasing albums and stuff.
Yeah.
I kind of modeled this formula after a bunch of people that I look up to and that I want to do music with eventually one day. Like I
Hmm.
know SZA does this, Ariana does this, I know Lauryn Hill does this, but the first single you
Hmm.
release is never going to be the biggest song ever.
Okay.
But it's going to be one of the biggest. It's going to be in
Totally.
the top 5. And so
Yep.
I kind of released Fast Forward knowing it was going to be a popular song, but knowing it was not going to be the best song on the album.
Gotcha. Okay.
And I feel like Fast Forward, when I did release it, the song was sweet and very like sentimental, and then the part that blew up was
Hmm.
was the only sexual part of the entire song.
Of course.
And I was like, huh. And so because of that, I made
Yeah.
Nasty.
Okay. I gotcha. All right. All right. And so, was there anything like in the moment, when you're making Nasty and you're actually behind the mic and you're hearing things come out, was there anything like, feelings or like just stuff going on at the time that it was like, all right, I think like if they like this one spot of this song, I think this one's going to go crazy? Or was this a little bit more of a surprise about how much like, oh, I mean, I hoped it would do well, but damn, I didn't think it would do this. Like, what was that for you when you were actually like making that individual track?
I kind of wanted the focus to be on the melody of the
Okay.
song.
All right.
So I changed the melody like 7 times. And I kind of
Wow.
wanted it, I wanted the melody to be very intentional and in sync with what I'm saying. And
Hmm.
so I kind of like, I think I binge watched like 2 TV shows to kind of see like how they spoke and how they carried themselves. And then
Hmm.
I went to re-record it and I kind of like did motions that I saw in the show
Hmm.
to kind of channel into the song. And like I remember there was this one show specifically, Ginny in Georgia. I love that show, by the way.
Hmm.
I was watching Ginny in Georgia, and I'm watching like Georgia, the mother. She's very
Hmm.
uppity and very like southern and very like she has this like I don't want to say stuck up, but she had this like
Hmm.
aura to her. And so
Yeah.
while I'm recording Nasty, I'm just like singing the song as I'm speak singing the song as if
Okay.
she were singing it, and like
Mm.
just the first part of the song, and then like we hear it back, and they're like, okay, so that's not the sound I think you want. And I said, well, no, I'm gonna retry it this time intentionally, like actually sing it how I want it to be sound. I sung
Mhm.
it, and then like I come out and I see them, they're like in awe. And I said, well,
Mhm.
this is obviously is how it's supposed to be sang, because
Yeah.
if you guys don't have words and I don't have words, it fits. And so we recorded the entire song
Okay.
and it was only like there was no backing vocals at all. It was just a straight one line of the song.
Mhm.
And then I took it home and then I kind of listened to it for 2 days straight. And then my boyfriend, he listened to the song. He said, hey, you should kind of add like your little bit of your own personal flair to it. And I said, what do you mean? He's
Mhm.
like, the songs you make versus the song you listen to, like, are they very different?
Mhm.
And I said, like, how do you mean? A lot of the songs I listen to, like Ariana and Doja and SZA, they add like the little fluttery backing vocals,
Mhm.
and it adds to the song, but it doesn't overshadow the actual chorus and verses.
Mhm.
But the
Okay.
songs I make, I purposely do it so that they overshadow everything else. And he said, well, why don't you just tone it back a little bit and kind of make people listen for what you're saying in the
Yeah.
background? And so I kind of went with that.
Mm. All right. Nice. I like that. Okay. That's really cool. And so now, I mean, just in general, when you were working on, this album, was there anything that you learned or any takeaways in the sense of like, because like you mentioned earlier, that you already have some, you've got more music already completed. You could probably come out with another album or two right now if you just wanted to, yeah, but we could put it out because I can put it out. But like now that you've gotten this album completed, and I mean, I think it's the best work you've done, but I mean, you're getting some great response from it. Was there any learnings or any takeaways that you had in like the build up and the creation of this album that you're like, I love that I did this, or I love that I like you were just talking about, with some of those vocal ranges, like, oh, I didn't try to push myself to go here, now I did. Like, are you gonna now, like, with this response, or are you gonna, well, I went to this range, can I push it even farther, or are you gonna be, tweaking and enhancing even more, once you dive into the next full one?
I feel it's always hard to kind of gauge how I want
Mhm.
the next album to kind of roll out, because each time I do an album, I focus my entire being and thought and brain and soul and body on just that. Like when I was making
Smart.
Chrysalis, I
Hmm.
kind of turned down 3 TV shows and 2 movies to kind of focus on this because I didn't want to get sidetracked. Because
Wow.
I made chapter 20 while I was filming something, and like for me personally, it kind of felt like it was everywhere all at once, and there was a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah.
And so and then Theoryality, I just strictly did only making music, and then I went back to filming, and then back and forth. And that
Hmm.
was also kind of challenging, and I felt like I got them done, but
Hmm.
it was probably not to what my standard was. And so for
Okay.
this one, I kind of like wanted to focus intentionally on the music, because
Yeah.
when it was done, which it is done now, I
Yeah.
could go back to acting and whatnot. And
Yeah.
I do know I don't think I'm at a place where I will stop making music forever, but I feel
Yeah.
like for the time for now until otherwise, I will not be making any more music or anything unless it's performing an old song or me
Gotcha.
doing a feature.
Cool. Okay. Nice. Nice. And now for you, is it more of like a, like, is it, because then we'll switch gears and, we'll kind of take a look a little bit more closely at, the acting aspect and that side of what you're doing. But I mean, is it more like, then I get to kind of, put that focus back up on, acting and being able to find, new roles in that. And, that'll kind of take up that focus for another set of time? Or do you actually feel like I might not actually legitimately ever come back and do music again?
I don't ever like to say I'm never going to do something again, because I don't
Yeah,
know what the future holds for me. I was
totally.
kind of at the space where I wanted to stop doing music because of the fact it was the thing my mom loved the most.
Hmm.
And so I feel like I need to let this album sit
Mhm.
and marinate for a little bit, because
Totally.
from my knowledge, the album that's out now is
Mhm.
what she heard front to back, and
Okay,
she loved
gotcha.
it.
Yeah,
There was,
good.
I think, 2 songs on here that I took off,
Mhm.
but I made like an announcement on my Instagram a couple days ago. Like, I say I'm gonna put some unreleased songs out there because you guys keep asking for them.
Nice. Well, that's
They're
because you
out
always put
there.
out deluxes, so you make them expect it.
Well, yeah, but like even on the deluxe, there's a song called "Why I Gotta." I know
Mhm.
like people went crazy for that song. I didn't release it. There's another one called "Feminine." I didn't release it. Polaroid's another one.
Mm.
There's a lot of songs that I just haven't put out yet. There's songs that I've done that I've wanted you, Louis, and a bunch of other people to feature on, but I just haven't sent to you or haven't released. I haven't went
Yeah,
back to them.
totally.
I think there's overall, even like now to this, like after Christmas has been released, there's
Mhm.
about like 2 albums worth I could put out, but
Wow.
over 60 songs that I could release.
Wow, 60? Damn. Okay, that's impressive. So now, one of the things you just mentioned, and I wanted to circle back to it before we kind of get to focusing on the acting and that piece, but you had mentioned the idea of like, when you were doing chapter 20, you're probably maybe pushing yourself too much, like trying to, okay, let me do the album and all this acting and everything all at the same time, and then you kind of, moved that focus around and, you know, like you said, put that intentionality here. Let me put the focus here, and then I'll come back to this other thing after the fact. Do you feel like with repertoire directly, kind of being in between, ethereality and the deluxe, and now Chrysalis, like, do you feel like that one was what you wanted it to be, or was there anything like, oh, it almost got lost in between what Chrysalis and ethereality was? Or was that kind of like also released and put out in the way that you wanted it to be, like intentionally with that force behind it?
Repertoire,
Yeah.
I kind of wanted to have a clean slate with repertoire. I kind of wanted to showcase
Mm.
I think there's 2 songs on there that are remixes, and those remixes are the first songs that I've released that
Mm-hmm.
kind of put me to where I am. I think "Keep You Up" and "Cocky," those are the name of the songs, and I kind of just went back and
Okay.
re-recorded like updated versions because those are what made me get to this point. And so I
Yeah.
felt like they kind of needed to be on there. And then there was songs that I felt like could have been on Ethereality to kind of keep people like, hey, this side of the music is still here. It's not
Yeah.
gone anywhere. And then there's a song called "You" on there
Mm-hmm.
and a song called "Brat." Those 2 songs were me teasing Chrysalis. I kind of wanted to tease the concept before I just
Mm.
throw it out there. And
Cool.
those 2 songs people love.
Yeah.
Those songs in specific have like comments that touch me personally, and so I'm like, okay, the
Mm-hmm.
message was received. I know what I
Yeah.
need to do, and then I started
Yeah.
working on Chrysalis.
Wow. Okay. Very cool. And so let's shift gears a little bit, and let's kind of focus on Sephora the media mogul as opposed to just the artist. Tell me a little bit about the acting side, and have you been doing that longer than music, or was there one that kind of like took over at a certain point? And then also, for you individually, if you had your choice of like, I could be able to say I'm going to be the next big star artist or big star actor, which one would you choose to be?
Um,
Like if you got to write that ticket, which course would you take?
um, Actor.
Actor. Okay.
I'm sorry for certain people who are gonna be watching this, but like, I love music. Don't get me wrong.
Of
It's
course.
just, and when I first started doing music, I just did it because it was kind of like a bet. My grandfather, he wrote music for a boy band back in the day, and they won a
Mhm.
Grammy. and he kind of said, if you can make music, I will tell you the name of the band. And so I kind of worked my ass off to kind of get an answer. And then like as time went on, I kind of started to like find a space for it for myself in my heart.
Yeah.
But I originally started with acting. I've been acting and modeling since I was 7. And then I didn't do music until I was 14.
Okay, so then that initial first true love is for the acting and the modeling. Okay, nice. I like that.
And I feel like if I'm acting, like if I do a rom-com, you guys can still get a song in there. You never know.
Exactly. And so that was kind of like where I was going to take my next part of the questioning, because when you're doing, when you're finding new roles, and you're, trying to be able to, go in for that next part, are there direct things that you look for? Like, is it based off of, what the actual, writing is and what the theme is? Or do you go more for like, I'm going to, shoot for more of like horrors or rom-coms as opposed to action? Or, like how do you pick what that next, part is going to be?
I go for what scares me.
Interesting. From any side, I would assume.
Yeah, because of the fact it requires me to draw more from within myself to play this part.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
And so I kind of like rewire my brain into thinking like this person. I kind of erase Sephora from my mind. Yeah. And I have to be this person because this person now exists, and I have to give my multiversal version of this person.
Yeah. Gotcha.
And so I kind of, if it scares me, I feel like I can tap into more raw emotion that way. Mm-hmm. And so it's a little bit easier. But I feel like if I can play a role insanely easily, then I get typecast. And I don't like being typecast as one role all the time, every single time. Yeah,
for sure. So then if we expand on that idea, to another level, for you, and I mean, for information that you can talk about, so don't let us know any, I'm not trying to have you divulge anything, but what would you say for you in the parts that you can be able to talk about, would you say is either like the one that you're the most proud of, or the one that you feel like pushed you the most because you felt that fear the most in walking into it and you're like, wow, okay, like that one pushed me to a whole nother level that maybe these other ones did? What would that be for you?
I feel like there's definitely a top 2 here. Mm-hmm. Okay. But if I have to be completely... Okay, so there's one where I'm a lawyer. Mm-hmm. I'm also co-writing and producing that series. So
wow, nice.
It was challenging to be on the behind the scenes of it and kind of control how I want the story to go, because it's 6 episodes, each an hour long. I wrote the entire thing. So I wrote and created the entire thing, and I'm trying to figure out how I want each of these storylines in it. But not only am I writing it and producing it, I'm in it.
Wow. Jeez.
And so it was tricky on that front, but I feel like my one dream when I was younger is I want to be in Marvel. Mm-hmm. And so it's not Marvel. Mm-hmm. I'm not giving it that way that easy. However, it's a company like Marvel, except it's based on Greek mythology. I'm thinking about what I'm saying before I'm saying it.
Yeah, of course.
I am playing a supervillain.
Oh wow.
Her name was released, but her name is Melody Wright. Mm-hmm. She's very like spunky. She has a lot of attributes that I have when I'm promoting my albums. Mm-hmm. However, I was very scared to even audition, because me auditioning for her took 7 months.
Wow. Jeez.
I studied Greek mythology, and while I was in school, and then I kind of like heard like a little tip, hey, this project is gonna start auditioning soon, but they don't know if they actually want to take it full throttle. But if it gets that far, we'll let you know. And I kind of, as soon as I saw it, I kind of like shut everything out. And during this time, it was during chapter 20 is when I kind of found out about it because I know chapter 20 is in black, is in gray, but my hair was red. My hair is red.
Was it really at that time? Oh, I
It
forgot
was
that.
red, and so
Okay.
like another reason why I made it gray is because I didn't want to spoil who the character was.
Mm-hmm.
But because it is released, I am playing the sin of Wrath in the movie. I cannot say the name of the movie, but there are a lot of well-known characters like Zeus is in there. I know Nyx is in there. I know the entire origin of the universe is with Pandora from Pandora's Box.
Oh, cool. All right.
So, and I feel like a lot of things that I've been doing so far touch on Pandora's side of the story versus the sin side of the story.
Interesting. Okay.
And it was hard because the audition process was it was pretty much only sin stuff, only her in her darkest times when she doesn't have her full strength. And I was very like, okay, this is very interesting. And then like when I found out like I got the part, they kind of sent me like a demo script, as you will, like one of the first revisions. And I'm reading it, and like out of nowhere, I just start crying because this girl has gone through so much, and she comes off as villainous and evil, but until the movie comes out and until you actually like pay attention to what she does and her moves, there's a reason for it. And I'm a very like, I don't like violence. I don't like hurting someone, making people feel uncomfortable. But the decisions she makes, I would do the exact same.
Oh, interesting. All right. Okay,
and
cool.
It's very like thrilling because everything that she does scares me, but at the same time, it's like she's not doing it just to do it.
Yeah, right. Okay. And so now when you're putting the part together, because kind of like you mentioned, you block, everything else out. You just kind of like, this character now needs to be created. It needs to be brought to life. What are some of those things that you go into? What are some of those processes that you have in place to sort of help, bring the character more to life, to kind of like get yourself into that right mental space and, really kind of inhabit and become that character? Like, what are some of the things that you do?
I watch a lot of TV. I am an actor, so kind of watching films and movies and TV shows kind of help me find a baseline of how the character acts. I know for her, I know her civilian name is Melody Wright, and her actual being is Wrath, but I know that they're taking her name from actual Greek mythology, and her name will be Chaos.
Okay, cool.
Which is a stronger version of Wrath. And for her specifically, this version of her is modeled specifically after the Scarlet Witch.
Oh, because,
and I was very confused. Like, we're not just gonna like do a rebrand of Marvel because that's just basically DC. And they're like, well, no, we're starting off at this point in the story, and we kind of want the audience to figure out why she's like this. And so instead of starting from a hero and kind of building up to this point, she's immediately seen as the villain. And then as the movies and stuff go on, we kind of see pieces of her story, even if she's not a main cast member in the story, why she is the way she is. And then once the actual movie comes out, because I think there's 4 TV shows before the movie comes out, is when we finally see her in her civilian form and when she's pure-hearted and everything. And then we kind of see the build-up to her becoming this feared individual that her parents didn't want, that Zeus is afraid of. And it kind of, her entire story arc is pretty much she's been abandoned, but she doesn't abandon others.
Oh, wow.
She's asked things, but she doesn't ask for anything. And this point is kind of like her last straw where, well, I feel as if I've been taken for granted by everyone, and this is how I feel about it. And then the reaction is, well, that's too bad. And then she kind of, well, I'm snapping.
Wow. Okay, cool. I mean, and what's cool is that it's like, because obviously, like you said, giving some ideas of some of the themes and, some aspects of the movie, but, maybe not the title itself. But, it was funny because when you were describing some of it had, these pieces of like God of War, just with the Greek mythology, and especially, talking about Zeus and, those people in that pantheon. And I just I was like, oh wow, that's like really cool. Like, cause I'm like, the story is different, but it felt in certain ways where I'm like, ooh, I wonder like who the main, hero that's wrapped around all of these other characters, or that maybe all these other characters are wrapped around. So for the show, because you said that multiple, shows are coming out and seasons before the movie drops. Are those ones that you're also in, or are you only in the movie as the character? Like now you see them in the civilian version, now that's you, or are you also in the show leading up to now you get to see my physical form?
So was released in her. There's a wiki page out there with her name,
Okay.
her face, and everything. And
Gotcha.
this is kind of like the first thing in the first TV show, which is also released. It's called Pandora. Something related to her name. And at that point, she doesn't exist. However, she makes herself exist.
Okay. Cool.
So so far, from what I think, we're still in phase 1. So, but phase 1's done. So from what my knowledge is, in phase 1, she's the only being who can make herself exist without even existing.
Okay. Interesting. Wow.
And so I was kind of trying to wrap my head around it, because I'm like, so she's doing all these things, but she doesn't exist. And I'm kind of asking, well, if she doesn't exist, then why did this happen? It's because like she doesn't exist as herself. However, pieces of herself are in everyone. And so that is just kind of giving her something to grab and take control of. And that was also confusing, because I was kind of like asking the director and like, hey, like, what is the difference between her and other villains? Because that would be like a big thing, whether people are going to agree with her or disagree with her. And basically her explanation was, unlike other villains, she knows what she's doing is wrong. But however, because she's suffered so many times in the exact same situations and no one cared, she doesn't care.
Interesting. Wow. Okay. And so now for you individually and this, specific role, this ongoing series, because that's a really cool thing. Because I mean, not that maybe it automatically means that you'll be involved in all aspects of it, but at least hopefully you make it, more than just, one round, or, okay, I'm not like one and done as a character. So that's, I mean, at least the opportunity for it is really good. But is this, would you say, the biggest role that you've been able to take up to this point, or does this maybe just have the most potential, but you've actually maybe, done another role that was bigger overall than this one, will be?
I feel like it could be the biggest. I've done roles in the past where I've played a goddess. She was a superhero, and then she was mutant, and then she was a goddess. She had a child. She erased her child. She came back. She died. She resurrected herself. So it was a long process for her. She was loved, because every time they wrote her off the show, it's because I kind of wanted to take a break. But then the fans would say, hey, they want her back. Can you come back for this? And it was kind of like a repetitive thing. Yeah. But also, like, I feel like this specific role will be one of the biggest, because her story is one that so many people struggle with. Okay. But I also feel like there's other roles, like the role where I'm playing a lawyer. That story is also very, like, it's not sci-fi or supernatural, but it's also very real.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting. And now, so again, with what you can tell us, please do. Is there any idea of a general time frame or ETA, like is this 26, 27, or is this like in this year? Like when could we maybe expect, this to be able to come out to where we could actually check it out for ourselves?
I will say for the lawyer, my project that I'm writing and producing, I am writing the finale, and then I will be casting shortly for
Cool.
the movie with the sins in Greek mythology. I know they are casting Pandora right now.
Okay, gotcha.
So for the entire series of Pandora, I know they're casting the goddess of war. So they're casting her. They're casting Medusa. They're also casting wondering if Zeus.
They were going to have her. I would hope so, because she's one of my favorites.
Yeah, they're casting Zeus. They're also casting, which is like very bizarre for me, my father in the universe, which he's not even in Pandora, but they're casting him early. But
okay, gotcha.
Who he is, who my character's parents are a big part of her story.
Gotcha. Okay.
Her father is Typhon. I'm pretty sure like he's the beast that Zeus hates. And then her mother is Nyx, the goddess that Zeus hates.
Gotcha. Okay.
And so it was kind of like her parents were trying to protect her, but also they didn't protect her at the same time.
Interesting. Okay. Wow.
It was kind of hard for me to juggle, because when I first read her origin story as her as a little girl and seeing how her mother, she witnesses her mother doing the darkest form of magic, which was the hardest for her mother to accomplish, which when she's older is the easiest thing for her to do. But she witnesses her mother doing it, and there's 3 other witches there. One, I won't say all 3 names, but one is Persephone, the goddess of hell, wife of Hades. She's one of them. And her and the other 2 try to come after Melody. And so her mother kind of shields her and then sends her to her father. Zeus is coming for her father. And so she basically witnesses her father die.
Yeah.
But because he can't die, he comes back and then he sees Zeus kind of strike her essence and kill her. But I feel like with what people don't understand is that nothing can be created out of nothing. So in that moment where she was kind of killed, she and her powers created Pandora's box.
Interesting.
Which was then handed to Pandora by Zeus to keep shut at all times. But curiosity is a very dangerous thing.
Wow. Okay. Wow, that's cool. And so now when you're in the middle of a project, and I mean, not specifically that you're in the middle of this one, but like when you are, actually working on a show and or, a movie or whatever it is specifically that, the role is going to be for, are you trying to be able to get the next role at the time, or is that after filming's already wrapped? Like, how does that work? Like, how do you, are you always able to just roll right into the next, part, or is there usually a pretty big gap of time in between one to when the next one might come around?
I normally schedule them to be very different times, because I like to focus on one thing and give it my 100%. Yeah. But there have been times where it has been canceled. There was a TV show for Netflix. I think we were 13 out of 15 episodes in. It was basically like this girl, my character, she's obsessed with solving unsolved serial killer cases, and then she meets this dude whose parents were murdered by serial killers. And kind of the last thing I remember filming is she figures out who the killer is. And it's someone who's been in the circle since the beginning. But I think the last scene I shot was kind of me on the side of a building, kind of on the side of a hospital trying to escape the killer.
Mhm.
And so like, but we pulled, and we kind of canceled. It was canceled. I know why. I can't disclose why, but I know
Yeah.
why.
Okay.
But it was very like, that was pretty like
That's too bad.
confusing because I was playing her, but I was also playing like another role at the same time, and they were so similar. It was kind of hard to distinctify who was who.
Interesting. So now, when you say in the version of like, okay, it was canceled, was it canceled before it came out, or it was canceled at like episode 13 of 15 of that first season?
It was canceled at episode 13 of 15.
Wow. That's just crazy. Like, don't worry, guys. You will never figure out who the killer is. He's out. Like, that's crazy.
Well, because it's not coming out, I will tell you, it was his, it wasn't his dad. It was the guy who he saw as a dad.
Okay, nice. Now we know if you ever come back.
He lost his child, and he kind of wanted to experience being a parent to someone. He saw these parents weren't treating their child right, but they were. It was just his perspective of things being warped in his brain a little bit. That's where he murdered them. He kind of took the kid and ran away, and then raised him up as his own.
Wow. Dang. Okay. That's crazy. So now when you're in the business and that idea of like, okay, getting, canceled at that time, like when you're literally right in the middle of making it, or I guess you're right at the end of it, does that happen a lot? I mean, or is that less common? Like, how often do you find yourself in that type of situation?
I'm going to grab my charger, but I will answer that question as soon as I get back.
Of course. No, absolutely. Yeah, please. And I will pull up the next song as well while you are doing that, so you can be able to focus on just grabbing that charger. And I think we're going to go with the one with Louis. I think we're going to go Pardon Me. And I really do love this song, but we'll finish off the rest of that conversation, in regards to the different parts, because I think this is really cool in the sense that Musashi and I didn't really, it was more just about, the fact that I've been doing this show, but like, we didn't really get as much into the weeds about like, when you're taking a part, or like when you're actually working on a show, and the fact that like, you're kind of like in the midst of like writing one, but also, coming into, where other people are getting cast and hired and brought onto the, overall cast, in a general way. So that's really exciting. But I think the next song that we'll focus on is going to be Pardon Me featuring Louisville. And, it's definitely kind of one of those where, like, when I was hearing this for the first time, I'm like, oh man, okay, they killed this. Like, I love the song. It's so good. It's so well, like, made. But at the same time, like, there was a little bit of me that I was like, okay, man, did he bring it harder than I did? I don't know. But there was like a little jealousy where I was like, damn, Louis, just bringing it hard. Like, now what? All right, now I just got to do even more for the next one, just it's that like love and healthy competition is like, brings out the best of people. But let me press play while she is grabbing the charger, you guys. And again, this song is called Pardon Me featuring Louisville. And let me just pull that up here. Get over to it. All right. There we go. So here it is. All right, guys. So going to press play on Pardon Me featuring Louisville.
A psychopath. It's hard to find the map where we met, where we met. It's funny how when I fuck up, you're right there, but when it's your time, you're gone like who's Mr. Clean. The grass is green, but the house is busting from the seams. I'm letting these niggas like how you want it. Trying to listen to my bitches cause it want it. Now I'm about to move cause it seems. I give it to 25 fine as fuck back. Touching on my body, I don't know.
All right, guys. So again, I just wanted to be able to play that, also to give support just a little time to make sure and grab that charger. But because that's definitely one of my favorite songs that I've heard. I love, like you said, I love the vocal changes that you did. But, I think that, one of the reasons that you and I sounded so good together is because I bring a certain registry and you have this completely other, sound, and the way your voice is, it's so unique. It's so beautiful, but it's also like, it just can mesh so well, because if you're wanting to be able to get, that other side, or like, oh, I want somebody who's going to be able to sing in this type of registry, or like you said, in a way, yes, I'm looking for maybe more of like that type of voice for like an R&B song or a specific type of vibe. But I love what you and Louis did with this, and I love, how you put the whole song together, and your guys' harmonization was amazing. So just one of the things that I loved about this song. But let's get back to the original conversation right before you grabbed the charger, and we were talking about the different parts, just kind of in a general way. But for you right now, is there anything coming up new, anything on the horizon that you're working on, or is it kind of all just, this show kind of focused on the Greek Parthenon?
I am current. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. I'm kind of like focusing on other things at the moment as well. I've kind of taken a step back from acting as well.
Oh, okay.
A little
Nice.
bit. I'm trying to like rework certain things. So many bad things have happened recently, but also so many good things have come out of it. And so
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of trying to readjust my priorities a little bit. Music has always been there, and every time I
Mm-hmm.
leave, the fans and you guys are always there, waiting for me
Mm-hmm.
to return. So I don't feel like I need to rush, but
Yeah.
I feel like there are like other things that I'm more inclined on, things that I need to do for
Yeah.
myself.
Gotcha. Okay. Nice. All right. Well, good. I mean, and that's one of the things that I think is like really important, is that, I remember when you had gotten done with Ethereality and we had, finished up with Adrenaline Rising, you had said kind of the same thing again at the time. And then you really did kind of have, maybe not like, oh, like you were then gone for a decade, but I mean, it was, good 6 months to, 9 months, where then there really wasn't like anything you were doing. So, I mean, I think it's at least cool that it's like, oh, you don't just like say it, that it's like, nope, this is what you feel like you want to do. You're going to stick to it at least, until you feel like you're ready to shift gears and move to something else, or, something else kind of comes up and it's like, oh, now I have to, deal with this type of thing. But I mean, at least I can be able to go back, from the past and be like, nope, yeah, you definitely follow through with that, specifically. And I, in a good way. So I wanted to be able to change gears a little bit, and I wanted to be able to move us over to the corner of 10th and music. All right. And I wanted to be able to focus a little bit more specifically on Chrysalis. And, and I know we've definitely put a lot of, this overall interview, a lot of the conversation, has been a little bit more focused on Chrysalis. But again, just because, before we hopped on the live, I knew that Sephora's album had come. I knew that Chrysalis had dropped recently. But I'm like, okay, is it recently? Like, I remember recently, like, oh, it's March. Like, it's been a couple of months, but I don't remember. And so she was like, oh, no, it actually dropped on the 1st of June. And so that was one day, right after I had just dropped my album. So I'm like, okay, so that's why I remember it being right around the time of when mine was. But yet it kind of got lost and everything, because then I'm also focusing on, marketing my album and everything. So when she said that, I'm like, okay, yes, that we definitely need to put a huge focus onto Chrysalis. And so I'm just going to pop up the album cover. And again, like I talked about earlier, because, this was one that you had shown me, before you had released the album, and this was one where you were like, okay, I think this is the shot we're going to go with. How long overall, was, did you do multiple locations? Was this the only place that you did? And then was it multiple outfits? Did you what were some other ideas or themes that you had, in regards to what you wanted that cover art to be?
So when it came to the cover, I kind of had like 4 to 5,
Mm-hmm.
and then I kind of like stumbled a little bit because it was supposed to.
I kind of lost you there a little bit, in the sense of I don't actually hear you now. No. Oh, there we go. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So yes, and you did take yourself off mute, so I can hear you now. Say something really quick. Ooh. Okay. Why am I not hearing you now? Hang on a quick second, you guys. Bear with me a brief moment here. Let me just pull that back up. Catch up there. Okay, let's see what is happening. Actually, let me really quickly, guys. Actually, let's start at the beginning really quick.
We're both surrounded by the air you claim to me. It's astounding to believe the lies you made. I see it in what you're working with, boy. I see it and I don't comprehend how you sleep with 2 girls and think I should stay committed. If this is your hero heart, then I'd rather be the villain. Oh boy, I don't belong to you. Ooh, I can't believe I cry. I just thought that I'd lose you. I spent the bottle, let my guard down. I was all in. 'Cause I'm waterfall, but I recall the day you walked in. The bags for me are jewelry, but I didn't want it, not now. Keep your apologies. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. It's me, ain't got a bank. Losing me, you couldn't afford it. If I got by, gotta ask. Why you couldn't do the simple things? I didn't want a wedding ring. Take your bag, keep your apologies. I'ma spend it. Spend a bottle on these bitches like I'm Guinness. I ain't setting records on these bitches, call up Guinness. I be telling niggas, gotta spend it. If they feel it, if I ain't a hot topic, why these bitches in my business? I'm a roll when I keep my toe done up. I'ma from my body, shake my ass for the whole time. I never meet a bitch and take a nigga, guess I stole from my pull up to a body in the center. I'm a whole stunner. I'm in my bag. The way these niggas coming for me, I feel like the stallion. Niggas keep scrolling, who I fucking find coming, I ain't counting it. I could be a midnight ballerina. Like these niggas, man, don't trust them overseas, but come in Canada. Fight, sim waist, thick ass. Niggas know I bring the stamina. And gotta try it, I keep all my niggas dripping like the Panama. He like my pictures, but you mad, you a fan of what? He like my pictures cause I'm bad, he be panning up. You like my pictures too, baby girl, don't use you ran it up. I ain't gotta bend over to shake my ass, I can do that shit while standing up.
Okay, so we were trying to be able to work through a little bit of possible technical difficulties. Let's try it out really quick. Let me add actually, Sephora is there. Sephora, say something for us really quick. Let's see if we can hear you. Nope. Okay. Ah, man, that is so unfortunate. I had exactly the same problem as well, where it's like that's why we now have this added one here, because for some reason it was doing the same thing where my my speakers wouldn't pick it up from here anymore. So it's super frustrating. So let's let me just play another song. Let me play the next one on here, because this is actually one that I did want to showcase today anyways, because this is one of the ones that I loved a lot. This song is called WYB WYD. So where you been? What you doing? But this song was so good. Actually, the first, like, I think on this song, or I think of this album, the first, like, everything until we get to, I think, actually, I mean, what was this, like 12 or 13 songs? Yeah, 13 songs. I mean, I would say 6 or 7 were just like, okay, I would just like have that on repeat, ready to go and go and go again. But again, this song is called WYB WYD. Let's press play really quick. And then maybe at the end of that, then, and then we'll come back after this one. If we're still having some technical difficulties, and, we might be able to, get a second one scheduled either, later tonight or maybe later in the week, to get round 2 going. But, we'll get it figured out after that. But let's play WYB WYD.
What you doing? To all them bitches you been screwing, don't compare to me. He ain't tell you hoes I ain't scared, yeah, I ain't scaring me. Where you been? What you doing, babe? Keep fucking on them bitches, I'ma shoot in, babe. Yeah, I'm tired of hearing that ain't fair. So baby, tell me what you doing. If I fuck you, homie, you can crash out. And if I turn up, pull up on me, you gon' spaz out. I might tell him come on over, blow this back down. You know if I do that, he won't back down. Just fucking with you made me lose respect. If I'm a bitch and you're a fool, that match. The shit you do unnecessary, but you don't wanna share me, so I be in clean cut, denim jeans. Big bucks for my fans only. Big bucks like an engine, miles from me. Been big racks on expensive shit for me. Big bag, have a ticket, my jelly and my queen. Babe, I got options even when I'm in my bag. Tell me I'ma give your homies something never had. Where you been? What you doing? To all them bitches you been screwing, don't compare to me. He ain't tell you hoes I ain't scared, yeah, I ain't scaring me. Where you been? What you doing, babe? Keep fucking on them bitches, I'ma shoot in, babe. Yeah, I'm tired of hearing that ain't fair. So baby, tell me what you doing. Let me put some fun on. Serving body, giving niggas some the fun. But you better not comment. Got a lot of junk up in the trunk. Now got me by my waist, I throw it back, you better not run. Nigga got me stunned. Someone right on this nigga, cause you can call me Chon. Feel like honey bun. He on the front. I'm a stun. Where you been? What you doing? To all them bitches you been screwing, don't compare to me. He ain't tell you hoes I ain't scared, I ain't scaring me. Where you been? What you doing, babe? Keep fucking on them bitches, I'ma shoot in, babe. Yeah, I'm tired of hearing that ain't fair. So baby, tell me what you doing. Clean cut, then I'm jeans, big bucks for my fans.
All right, so just wanted to be able to play that. We had Sephora head out and then come back in. Maybe we've been able to solve the mic issues, but let's give it a shot. Let's get her back up on stage here. All right, let's release this here really quick. There we go. There we go. Okay, and then let's see. Oh, unmute that there. All right, Sephora, let's give us a little something. Let's see if we can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, there we go. Woo! Good. Okay, so now really quick, Louis, I don't see her on the stage. I just see my phone. Okay, perfect. Thank you, man. All right. So fantastic. We are back. Apologies about that technical difficulties there, but we actually ran through that one pretty damn well. So I'm happy about that. But so now right before I kind of lost what we were talking about, in regards to, when the mic actually had gone out. We had moved away from, talking about the acting stuff. We were focused a little bit more specifically on Chrysalis. We were here at 10th in Music talking about the cover art. Kind of go from there, because I know that was the last thing that we were talking about. Was there any other themes or any other shots that you had done, or like direct specific, like other outfit options that you had? And then what was the specific thing that kind of made you then choose and go and move forward with, with this specific shot that you ended up going forward with?
I kind of did like a 90s themed photo shoot for almost every single cover that I wanted to do. And then and they were all in like these studios and these open spaces, and I kept looking at them, and I just kept feeling like, I've done this before. I've done this before. I've done this before. And so I kind of like was at home one day, and my stylist was like, "Hey, I'm bringing these clothes to your house to try on for this event that's coming up," which was a pop-up event. People were coming to see me perform. I was taking pictures and everything.
Cool.
Do you mind your house? And it's like, bring all the clothes here. I said, go for it. Like, it's fine. And then as I'm thinking, I just call my sister, because she's in school for film and everything. And I said, can you just come over here really quickly? And she said, yeah. Right now, I'm in a room. This room is my walk-in closet. But I kind of just emptied out like half of the room. And I just set up the room for my shot. I wanted to be comfortable. And so I used this spot right behind me. I just put this backdrop up. But like, we used this space to take all the photos. And then
Cool.
Now, they basically were just saying like, you look extremely comfortable in photos, like unlike anything you've done before. And I said, yeah, I feel comfortable. And then like, I'm internally thinking to myself, like, where are the wings? And I'm looking for my wings, like butterfly wings. And then I feel like my team, her name is Jazz. Jazz. She's like, well, the songs can be the wings. The songs can be what lift the people up. I'm like, that's actually really smart.
Yeah.
I have a sister named Jazzy, but her name is Jazz.
Gotcha. Okay.
But like, she was like, you use the songs as your wings, and I kind of like took that and ran with it. And it was surreal. I didn't think I was gonna keep it. And then the deluxe of Chrysalis Imago, I kind of kept the same energy, but I changed into like a top that was lace, and like the lace design was butterflies.
Oh, cool. Okay, cool.
And then I kind of let the shadow be my wings.
Okay, interesting. Nice. Yeah, because I think that, when you are taking a look at the Chrysalis album, like, you've got more of this shadow here, but it's more like almost like you said, like, or in the sense of like how these shadows work, it almost feels like you're coming out of the cocoon, as opposed to where the other one does feel a little bit more like it's coming, on your shoulders. Like, it is more like wings, as opposed to where this one, I do feel it's a little bit more like it almost a little bit like, oh, you are coming out of, it, you are now seeing the release of the butterfly, as opposed to, the other way. But I really like that. I like that a lot. And for you now, that top is different than what this is, right? Correct? That
Very
you had
different.
from the Imago? Or are these the same?
So for this one, it was they're similar but very different. Like this one
Okay.
was actually a corset, and so the corset was very like V shaped to
Hmm.
create like a butterfly, and I kind of like I loved it because it was so different. Like you couldn't tell like what it was,
Hmm.
but like there was a couple more angles of that picture, like where you see the corset clearly. And then I don't know why I chose this one. I feel like because you couldn't see it, but you could see the indentation arm
Hmm.
where the corset was, that it just kind of it made sense. Because all the other shots they have crawling out of the cocoon look,
Hmm.
and so I kind of chose to keep this one. And there are wider shots
Hmm.
that is kind of pieced down a little bit, but it was very fun. I was like, this is probably the most comfortable photo shoot ever.
For sure. And so now also something too, that I wanted to be able to kind of point out, because some of them you do it and some of them you don't do it, and because like if we're taking a look here at, the last, I mean, I guess, we also have a deluxe album in there, on top of it, but basically we've got, four full albums in the sense of like, yes, the Ethereality does have the deluxe, but we've got Chapter 20, Ethereality, Repertoire, and Chrysalis. Is there anything like when you are making the albums, because like on Chrysalis, Chapter 20, you just got this picture of you, with the parental advisory, but there's no name of the album. There's, it's only you. But then like Repertoire, you did put the name of the album. Like it, definitely had a very direct look. Now you didn't for the, standard Ethereality album, but you did for the deluxe, put the name of it on there. When you are, working on the cover art, because I mean, I look at yours and I'm like, like you talked about earlier, they're so, you're doing it on purpose. They're so specific. And I just wanted to know, like, is there anything directed, like when you're getting into making the cover art shot, that you're deciding like, okay, I'm going to put the name on it like Repertoire, or I'm going to do something more like Chrysalis in Chapter 20, where it's just me, only the parental advisory, maybe a little bit more, noticeable, because Ethereality, it's there, but I feel like it's more, it's not like in your face. Where with these two, I feel like it's more like it feels like you've got like these themes and some standards, but you do have some different versions of those that you'll put in there. Is there anything that you do in your process or that you're thinking about that you want it to look kind of like this one album did, or maybe more like this one? Like, is there any thought process for you that goes into that?
I tend to like not put the names of the albums on the cover. I know I
Okay.
tend to do it for like EPs or deluxes.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of that feel, because for an album covers, I kind of want people to take the picture in before they listen to the
Yes.
music.
Okay. Nice. I like that.
Like, come to their own conclusion before they even listen to the music. Why is
Yeah.
this? And then after listening to the music, go back
Mm-hmm.
to the cover and say, okay, now this is starting to make sense.
Gotcha. I like that. And I think that there is something to be said about that, because I remember when I was having my interview with Baby J, one of the things, and I mean, and not in any way like, oh, I don't like what Baby J did and I like what you did, or that it's like, oh, he did something bad and yours was good or whatever. But I think that there is something to be said about the idea that's like, when you look at Motion and you look at the most recent album that Baby J did, like the album is amazing. But the cover art, while it's a great cover, it doesn't like portray a thing, or it doesn't feel like it has the intention that yours do. Like, and again, not that that's a bad thing or a good thing. It just, when I look at your cover arts, I'm like, man, like it just makes me think so like, okay, what made her choose to do this? Or like, like especially like with the deluxe version of Ethereality, like, like how much harder was it that like actually like like stripping down to like, a bare version of yourself, but then also having that be the cover art. Like, it just always feels like there's this big discussion around nothing other than just how you came up with that cover art shot, as as opposed to something maybe, and again, not even that it's like anything that it's like, oh, that it's bad. It's just one of those where I'm like, is the randomness, or does the idea of that there's no theme or no direct, like, it's hard for me to wrap my mind about it. So is it hard for most people to wrap their mind around it? But with yours, it's like a little bit more direct. Like, okay, I don't know. It seems like there's so much more being said, when I look at some of yours, but also to that extent too, because I'm like, this is how I would do it too, where I'm like, but you go to more of my sensibilities, maybe more so where I'm not good at randomness, to where I'm like, okay, let me think of something and how to create that, as opposed to pull from here, pull from here, pull from there, and then come up with something, like whatever. So I think that's one of the reasons why I wanted to ask you about yours, is because it feels like you put so much intention into the cover arts. That's cool to know. And thank you for letting me know, like, okay, I'm more likely to do a deluxe and put the name of the album on that, but I'm not as likely to do it for the regular album. So that's really cool. Is there any reason for you why that you do that over, the opposite decision?
It visually just looks better. I don't like, there's a lot of times I don't like seeing the name of the album. I look on the catalog, it tells me the name of the album underneath. Totally. I don't need the top of the picture. But that's then there are fan edits and everything where they love to use the pictures of albums like to make a point, and the name is right there, and it's like, well, you kind of I don't want to give people expectations.
Gotcha. Okay.
And I just feel like leaving blank space and these pieces of art, because I do have people take the photos for me sometimes, but if they don't, I'm the one taking the photo. I'm the one editing it. I'm the one coming up with the concept. I kind of make the deluxe counter the actual album cover. They have to pull it up.
Wow. Okay. That's a really smart way, and it is at least like it keeps you on a direction. Like, okay, this is how I'm going to do it, and when I come to this choice, I'm going to just go down that path and make that decision every time. And it's just kind of like, hey, one less thing on my plate that I have to decide at one point. Like, now you've already made that decision for yourself. I really like that. So now I wanted to be able to play one more song, because we're, in a general way, for the direct questions and, the specific aspects that I really wanted to focus on and talk about, with you, kind of come to the end of all of the main meat and potatoes. But I wanted to play one more song, and this song is called Try You On. And now let me ask you a question, because I just wanted to make sure that I am saying the name correctly. Because is it Godly Eric? Is that how he says his name?
I think so. That's how I pronounce it, but I just call him. I have nicknames for the people that I work with. It's just
okay, nice.
Thing. For you, I call you like RPG because it's easy to remember. It's quick and easy. For Louis, I either call him Louis or Love. For him,
nice.
Eric, because it is different for men and women. For women, it's like I call them. We have our own little. I'm not gonna spoil that, but like for men, it's very different. Like I call. Yeah. Like if we were to like show our text thread, it's just me calling him Love like 24/7. Love. Hey, what do you think about this? It's just like he's so. I love that man. He is so. Like I can't even like he's perfect, and it's like I'm pretty sure Eric. I just call him Eric.
Gotcha. Okay, nice. Yeah, because again, I think it's just one of those where I love the music, and you are an artist too, where you definitely have like 90% where it's like, I want to just be focused on just me. I'll be the only artist on the song. But when you get to hear that 10%, you know, not, and again, because it's like, you don't expect it, or in the way where it's like, oh no, if I get 12 songs on this album, I do not expect that 10 of them will have a feature on there. Probably 1, 3, maybe will put a person on there. But I think that when I get to listen to, you know, your music by yourself, and then you put, you know, the artists on there, and, you know, Godly Eric is a person where him and I, you know, we have initial talks where we are going to try to be able to put something together, but he kind of talked to me right as I was just coming to the end of getting, you know, the Long Journey for Balance out. So I was like, give me a little bit of time. Let me kind of, you know, come back to it, and then we'll look at it. But in a general way, like, I love, you know, like, you know, our song I think is fantastic because of, you know, that dichotomy that we have between our sounds. I think you and Louis sound together really good, you know, for some of the similar reasons. You know, Louis and I definitely have a different vibe and a sound, but, you know, I think some of our personality traits more are in line with each other, where I'm like, okay, we're probably likely to create a love song first before we're likely to get, you know, all mad and like get, you know, create some, oh man, like, you know, I'm super mad about or like angry about something. But with Godly Eric, when I heard this song, I was like, oh wow, here's another one that just goes really well together with your sound, with what he's bringing. But I think, you know, with this one, it's also too where, you know, I could tell that like he was taking your lead, and like it was like, okay, you know, very similar probably to how it went with us for Adrenaline Rising, where it's like, here's the song, oh, here's my whole part created in like an hour, and now I just have to go off that expertise and be like, all right, well, now she's delivered me this, you know, incredible song on a platter. Now I have to be able to make something great. Like, it's not like we both were growing into it. Like, oh no, I got to bring my A game now because look at what she just gave me. So this is another one of those songs for me. And again, this song is called Try You On, featuring Godly Eric.
One dip in the water, you'll be fine. You should let me come try you on, try you on, try you on, try you on. If you got something to say, make it known, say a lot and say it clear. Cause baby boy, I'm in. Now it's time to face your fears, face your fears. Don't fake the fuck with me, I'm no veneers, clear the field. They jump and show me just to catch a feel the vibe. Pull up on me just to see the realest bit in the box. Pull up on me talking shit with bitches, better go. I want you to focus on me, all I'm ever clear. Here and now, I hear my clear. One dip in the water, you'll be fine. Swim in the water, you'll be fine. Be mine, won't die, be high, be flies. All you need back from me, like you should let me. Try you on, try you on. Take this pussy for a run until you come back. You should.
Can you tell them that the morning comes? You don't lie, you tell them that you do it all for fun. You told them what you need, told them can you turn it on? We turn it on. Tell them that we did it all, we did it all. Yeah, we turned it on. Can you tell me I can dip in the water? Can you tell me I can go that way?
If you take one dip in.
Yes. So again, you guys, I just kind of wanted to be able to, you know, end at least the direct musical aspects, you know, with that song. That's Try You On, featuring Godly Eric. I love that song. I mean, again, I think, you know, he definitely, again, even in between Louis and I, you know, for the featured songs that we focused on tonight, you know, totally a different vibe and a style than what we have. But again, I think it's just really like showing your level of range and that you can kind of work with artists of all different like styles and, you know, genres, and, you know, really bring them together really well. You know, comparatively, just wow. You know, I love when you do get to be able to be with that feature and you have that mold and that meld that's really great. You know, I love those songs. And there's probably, you know, 3 other songs that we didn't really get to focus on tonight. You know, for me specifically, you know, Dick Appointment was another song that I think is fantastic. When I heard it the first time, I'm like, okay, this is good. Nice. That's hilarious. I love, again, because I love that one in the sense of like we talked about more at the top of the interview, you know, when you do go more blatantly sexual with it and you put more of that out there, like I do like that too, but when you get to have more fun with it like this, but then also like with Try You On, I think with that song, one of the reasons that I like it is because it's like, you definitely have some lines in there that's like, ooh, okay, that's definitely graphic. Like that's a little risque, but yet you veil it and hide it behind, you know, that beautiful voice and just in general, like the beat and how you put the song together. So I think that's one of the reasons that I really, really love that song. But just, you know, again, like I said, when I feel like I hear that mold between you and a featured artist, you know, I just love listening to those because I know it's going to be something really, really good. But guys, this was kind of the end of the direct questions that I had, you know, for Sephora specifically. She's taken on, you know, she's taken us on one hell of a journey tonight, and I really appreciate all of your time. But Sephora, I just kind of wanted to be able to give you the floor, you know, for the last few minutes here. You know, kind of, you know, I know that we talked about a lot of things tonight, but just, you know, kind of talk to the people, let them know, you know, either things you have coming up or what's going to be going on, you know, next, or just in general. Talk to them about what you want to let them know, you know, before we kind of close it out, you know, for the night. But again, thank you so much for all of your time and, you know, just all the amazing stories tonight. Okay. Well, I think Sephora's phone might have completely died on us. But you know what, everybody? That's all right, because tonight was another fantastic episode. And, you know, I had a lot of fun. I hope that all of you guys learned a lot. We definitely had a lot of people rolling through. So I really appreciate everybody being here tonight, all that love, all of that support. But guys, like I said, I think Sephora's phone probably finally gave up on her. But thank you, everybody, for being here, for joining us on episode 29. Guys, on the next episode, we're now in the 3s. Like we've been now had 30 of these individual people come on for one of these interviews. And now we are going into 30 and moving away from 29, you know, and just a whole new set. So I am so excited. Thank you guys so much for everybody that's been rocking with us for, you know, this interview, for all of them, anybody that's been, you know, rocking with us for one episode or all 29. Again, you guys, thank you so much for all of that love and support. And we are here finishing up our interview tonight with Sephora Monet. But if you do, well, actually not if, when you get done with this interview and when you go pull up Sephora Johns in whatever your favorite platform of choice is to listen to music, be able to go and find Chrysalis, go and find Repertoire, all of the albums that she's put out, put in those headphones, press play, and just be blown away. You guys know how I love to say it. That's why I say it every time, because you just got to keep putting it in your head. But again, you guys, thank you so much. This was episode 29 of the Artist on Artist Spotlight featuring Sephora Johns. We heard some amazing music tonight, heard some incredible stories. And again, thank you everybody for being here, all that love and support. And we'll see you next week when we've got episode 30 with Sicario. So another really special episode. Somebody who also did an interview with me beforehand. So definitely go check that out too. But really excited to be able to turn the tables and know that we've got Now I'm the one being the interviewer and you get to be the one answering my questions. So I'm definitely excited to be on the other side of the coin and being able to give that interview for him. But I'm really excited, and definitely join us next week when we have the next episode of Artist on Artist Spotlight featuring Sicario. All right, guys. Well, again, thank you so much for all that love and support, and we'll see you next week. Peace.
What up? It's your boy RPG. Red, purple, gold. Kilos. Panoramic roof. Bitch, I'm red, purple, gold. RPG. My strength will never fold. My heart is never frozen cold. I'm the best. Yeah, that's what I've been told. 1, 2, 3. My voice has been freely sold. Luxury of my life is all I know. It's all I know. But I will never sell my soul. Never sell it. I won't.